All right, and with that, we are recording. And this is COFOH Live and Undead. I'm your host, Daniel Crozier, and I'm here with the phenomenal talent that is Steve Niles. Thanks for coming up on Zoom with me and chatting with me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's nice to talk to some people.
Yeah, especially in these times. This is probably the best way to connect.
Yeah, yeah. I've been using it a lot actually for work and just for connecting with friends.
Yeah, that's cool. So Steve, first question, always pretty standard. Who are you? Where'd you come from? Where'd you grow up? And how did you get into music and writing?
Oh wow, that's a lot actually.
Yeah,
Well,
sorry.
my name's Steve Niles. Actually, I come from New Jersey. That's where I was born, but I grew up in Washington D.C. mostly, and that's I really hit it lucky because I lived in Washington D.C. when I was 17 in the 80s. So I
Nice.
was right there for the hardcore scene,
Yep.
and I fell right into it. Those guys all became my friends. I had been a lifetime comic book and horror fan, so when I started hanging out with these guys like that Discord Records
Mm-hmm.
and all these people, it was a very DIY scene, and everybody, if you wanted to put out a record or put on a show, you did it yourself.
Yeah.
So when I started thinking about doing comic books, I did the same thing. I started self-publishing in about 1987.
No kidding.
Yeah, 1987, 1988 was where I started with just, terrible comics, but I was trying, I was really young, but it really was the music scene that sort of taught me how I was going to do things in the comic scene.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So
Yeah.
one pretty much informed the other, like a discipline, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, well, one thing, my band members were my only audience. So I
Hmm.
would torment them with my stories and things like that, stuff that is, they used to read stuff that's now been published for 20 years or more. Um, but yeah, it was just, it was that do it yourself attitude. You
Yeah.
didn't sit around waiting to get permission to do anything. So when I wanted to do comics, I went out and I started meeting writers, I started writing publishers
Nice.
and figuring out how the whole process worked because I had no
Mhm.
clue.
Yeah.
Um, and I was very lucky because I sort of floundered with my own company for a couple of years. I had a company called
Mhm.
Arcane Comics,
Okay.
and that's where I got the rights to half the Books of Blood from Clive Barker. I got
Nice.
the rights to I Am Legend.
Oh,
Um,
fantastic.
and then, like, immediately figured out that I wasn't a publisher. I mean, I was just,
Mm.
I want to be a creative guy, and I didn't like the business stuff. So I teamed up with Eclipse Comics. Do you remember Eclipse?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
remember
So
them.
yeah, and that's how I wound up getting out, the Clive Barker art book, some of the Books of Blood comics, the I Am Legend adaptation.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, the music and the comics and the horror all sort of went. They helped each other out.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And the band that you kept yeah, sharing your writings with, that's Gray Matter, because I think
Gray
did you
Matter.
have a couple of different bands that you were participated in?
Well, I was in Gray Matter, and then Dante left Gray Matter, and
Hmm.
he was the drummer. So Jeff Nelson from Minor Threat and Discord
Nice.
joined us, and we became a band called Three,
Oh,
and
okay.
we toured a little bit, put out one album, and then we split up, and then Gray Matter got back together. But the two bands really, the difference was the drummer.
Okay. Oh, wow. Uh, yeah, that's pretty cool. I've like about the same time that I met up with you, I met Ian Mackay in person. He did a spoken word thing here in at the Tattered Cover downtown, and that was absolutely just delightful. He's so exuberant and very into whatever you're doing. as well as whatever he's doing. And I remember you had some very nice things to say about him. And when I finally met him, that was very accurate.
Yeah, yeah, he's a really good guy. As a matter of fact, last year, I had been getting bugged by a couple friends of mine, Rick Remender and Eric Stevenson from Image,
Yeah.
have been asking me for years to write a comic about my days playing music.
Oh.
And for years, I just couldn't do it because I couldn't figure out a way in. I just couldn't figure out how to do it. And, about 8 months ago, I figured out how to do it.
Oh.
And I sat down and I wrote a 115-page graphic novel called Swan Street.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's being worked on right now.
Oh, fantastic.
It'll be my first nonfiction release.
Oh,
but I had to write Ian to ask him if it was okay if I used him, because I mean he's all through my life, playing music and being in DC and stuff. So I had to get permission. He was great. He's like, yeah, just make sure you send me a copy.
That's great. So, that's wonderful. I can't wait to read that book. I'm absolutely jazzed on nonfiction and kind of slice of life kind of stuff. And that's absolutely wonderful. Well, and with the state of the comic book industry right now, as is everything else with this pandemic, everything's kind of in massive shuffle. So I'd imagine that project might be delayed being published unless I'm overreaching.
Actually, because we're going to do it for Image. So
cool.
It's completely creator owned. The artist that I'm working with on it, his name is Nate Powell, and he's working on it.
Cool.
Because we've got nothing to do.
Yeah.
So so he's actually working on that along with some other projects. Most people I know are trying to work, but man, it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
Not only, like I have a couple jobs and I'm almost at the end of those, but aside from that, I don't know what I was thinking. I actually thought like, oh, with all this time, I'll finally write that screenplay I've been meaning to.
Oh, okay.
No, nothing. I've been brain dead for this entire time. So I'm hoping as this thing goes on, the stress will decrease a little bit and maybe actually be able to get a little more creative.
Yeah. No, I totally understand it. It can be kind of infuriating, and the anxiety is just getting at everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I've been making a real effort to just keep the news off.
Oh,
just realize between news and social media, it's getting pounded over your head. And I just, I watch news like once a day, and that's it.
Okay, that's good. That's probably good. I unfortunately engage with it too much, and it takes me down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Hey, so with with your publishing house, that you initially started out with, what made you realize just to focus on the creative? Was it was it just
horrible businessman? On top of being horrible, I had no interest in it. All my interest in this stuff was creative. I wanted to write, work with artists. I want to do these things. So in a way, I misunderstood what being a publisher really was. Right. But I was 19. I was 19, 20 years old. So I had no clue what I was doing. So, it kind of, I did it the hard way. We stayed afloat for 2 years. We did a book called Fly in My Eye, which is a big, thick 200-page book.
Okay.
And then, I don't know if you remember, but there used to be these books of blood lithographs.
Yeah.
It's like, we published those.
Nice. Wow.
So, but it was just, you try to do both, and I had no time to do the creative, so that's why I wound up working with Eclipse. Okay. And then I was just an editor, or whatever you wanted to call me, a writer. I would just adapt stuff. And much more comfortable in that role. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like business at all.
Yeah, but still, at age 19, having your own publishing company and doing what you were able to do and get that licensing, not every 19-year-old can fathom that. So
Yeah.
my hat's off to you for that, for dipping your toe in that pond.
Oh, thank you. I was a little spaz, and I didn't know better. So I would write letters to Richard Matheson, and I'd write letters to Clive Barker. And I would just tell them, I want to do this and I want to do that, and then they wrote me back.
That's cool.
I mean, I've told the story a million times, but I wrote a letter to Richard Matheson, just saying like, I Am Legend's never been done properly. Omega Man's great, but it's not I Am Legend. I Am Legend's not I Am Legend.
Yeah.
Last Man on Earth is an I Am Legend. So I just said like, I'd really like to do an accurate comic of it.
Right.
And he wrote me back and said, like, I appreciate that you're young and you don't have experience, but I'll have to ask for $100.
Oh.
And that's it. Cost me $100.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The rights to I Am Legend. It was just because I didn't know any better, so I just wrote people. I didn't think there was any problem with that. I tracked people down through their agents or whatever, and I just started writing them letters.
You had the passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's nice. I think that it seems like they saw that in you, so that's very comforting.
It was really nice. I mean, Clive Barker, Richard Matheson, John Bolton. I mean, I can think of all these, Dean Mulaney, all these people that had faith in a little kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a kid then, and just the fact that they had the faith in me to stick with it. I mean, it's how I got started. So, I'm really appreciative of that.
That's so cool. With your career at Eclipse, how long were you there as a writer-editor?
God, maybe 3 or 4 years. I did a bunch of Clive Barker adaptations.
Nice.
I did more copies of Fly on My Eye. And I did I Am Legend, and I did M with John J. Muth.
Nice.
And that was kind of the way I like to work with stuff, was like, I remember reading Jay's Dracula. And in Dracula, he has a shot that's Peter Lorre looking over his shoulder, and I knew that was from M. So I went to the Library of Congress, found out it was public domain, went back to Jay Muth, and said like, it's free, let's do a comic, and he just went nuts and did a comic.
Oh, that's great.
I used to love doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just
I don't think people realize how many amazing stories are actually public domain. There's some amazing treasures that just haven't been able to resurface and come to like the public's attention. We keep going back to like new adaptations of like Frankenstein and Dracula, perhaps, and even like the Sherlock Holmes stuff or the Tarzan stuff. But there's so much more out there. Did you find that with M, was there an estate that you could just reach out to and just, hey, we're going to give this a try and see if get there okay?
No, we didn't have to deal with anybody.
Wow,
all the rights on it had lapsed. Even though there had been a couple versions, because there's a 1950s version of the film too.
Okay.
But yeah, it was free and clear for us to do whatever we wanted with it, at least to my memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I'm trying to think. I want to say I recognize like some of the poster art from the movie, but I'm drawing a blank. So
with M,
yeah,
Peter Lorre.
Yeah,
Peter Lorre playing the child murderer, and it has that great thing where the underworld and the cops have to team up to get the serial killer, and just
nice.
Yeah.
God. Okay, I'm gonna have to dig that one up and refresh myself, because now that I think about it, I don't think I've actually seen it.
Oh, then you're in for a treat. It's a great movie.
Excellent. And what better time to do it than in quarantine?
Yeah, exactly. I know. Are you painting Gorgo back there?
Yeah, I finished Gorgo a little while ago. Little mural on wood. Yeah. So
Oh, very
this
cool.
big guy. Yeah.
Wow, it's huge.
Thanks. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It's just lots of paint markers. I only had a few. I think you're probably the third or fourth person that recognized that it's Gorgo.
Oh yeah, I know. Where I have a Gorgo model around here somewhere.
Oh,
Uh,
sweet. I've
yeah,
always I've always loved the visual of Gorgo, but I've never seen the film either. So that's another one I
never
need to
seen the
go
movie.
to. Yeah,
Oh, you got to see it. It's a classic.
yeah. It's my girlfriend and I have been started writing and illustrating like children's kaiju bunny cartoons
Oh, yeah.
or comic books, I should say. And so we've been getting back into like the kaiju monsters and stuff. And of course, I grew up with Godzilla and Gamera, but I've never
Right.
seen Gorgo. And there's quite a few that I'm as I go along, I'm realizing I haven't seen this Japanese King Kong or it's there's quite a few, but the visuals are always so striking. So that's what I go to.
Yeah. Well, Gorgo's so interesting because it's London. I mean, it's a UK movie, so it's so
Oh,
different than. Yeah, it's
wow, I
an
didn't know
English movie.
that.
Yeah. No, you got to see it. You got to see it now.
Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I've got a bunch of friends in Scotland, so we usually do video chatting every week because they're working with us on another book too. A lot of Edinburgh, kind of horror comedy folklore type stuff, and so yeah, it'll be fun to let them know that your neighbors. They're housing kaiju monsters, so you should really be watchful.
Oh yeah.
Another invasion.
Yeah.
But so man, early on in your career, doing the band thing, doing all the writing and everything, but making that leap to like 30 days of night, which is really where I learned of your work.
Right.
It was absolutely fantastic comic and a bit of a breath of fresh air too, I think, to vampire folklore.
Yeah. I was
Uh,
really trying.
what's that?
I was really trying when that came out. I was especially hostile towards things like Buffy and
Okay,
all the friendly vampires. There were
right.
so many friendly vampires out there, so I was really, in a way, I was reacting to that.
Oh,
You
okay,
know.
nice. There is that sense of like romance with vampires, especially like Anne Rice stuff, and later, the shininess of Twilight or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, the vampires in your story were absolutely fucking brutal and savage,
Yeah,
and
which is
just as you
yeah,
would
which
think a vampire should be, I think.
yeah. Well, I remember talking to Ben Templesmith about it. And I was like, they should be land sharks. They do not
Mm,
give a shit about you
nice.
for nothing but food. No. So I mean, it was very intentional. We were just like, no romance.
Okay.
Especially in that first story, we're like, there's no romance, there's no seduction, there's none of that. They're just out to eat and
Yeah.
feed, and
Yeah.
humans are nothing but food to them. And just somehow, that combined with sort of them being so secluded with these vicious vampires, it just seemed like it was scarier. You
Mm,
know, that's really what I was going for because it had gotten to a point where vampires just weren't scary anymore. They were, they're
yeah.
things people fantasized about being vampires, and
Yeah.
that's like,
Yeah. That
you know,
is that's always something that was kind of weird. Like you see some of those docu-series about people murdering other people, in the attempts to be a true to life, vampire or something like that. Something over romanticized. It's like, why would you want to romanticize about being a serial killer? They're the monster.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just done so much. I mean, nothing. I love Anne Rice.
Mm-hmm.
I've got nothing against that stuff. It was just that when it came time, because I had the Alaska hook. I
Yeah.
had that, and so, but when it came time to develop the vampires, it was really just Ben and I just wanted to do something different.
Nice.
That was when we did that, we initially Ben and I were still working for Todd McFarlane,
Oh,
and we were doing a book called Hellspawn, and we were on a
okay.
break from Hellspawn while we waited for Todd to get back with some notes. And Ken Adams wrote me or called me and said, "Look, we're starting a publishing company. We have no money,
Mm-hmm.
so we can't pay you, but you can do whatever you want." So
Nice.
I sent him the pitch list, and it was like Cal McDonald, Freaks of the Heartland, 30 Days a Night. It was all these things on the list, and he picked 30 Days a Night.
Oh,
You
wonderful.
know, and let's do this one. So Ben and I did the first issue for free, and
Okay.
then it just exploded. It just exploded. But it was a labor of love. We had no clue people were going to give a shit about it.
Yeah.
So it was
Oh,
fun to write like.
that's wonderful when somebody can, give you that kind of runway.
Well, I've known him since Eclipse. He was an
Mm,
editor at Eclipse. He
okay.
was really young.
Yeah.
And then he got me work with McFarlane, him and Bo Smith. And then at the tail end of the stuff with McFarlane, I wrote 30 Days and everything just took off.
Nice. Oh, that's wonderful. The with the idea of 30 Days of Night, was that something that you and Ben kind of came up with while working for Todd, or was that something that just kind of was always there, like during the days of Eclipse and stuff?
It was on a pitch list I had. I just said, I mean, I couldn't sell a story to save my life. At that point, I was writing Spawn. I was
Yeah.
doing stuff like that. I was working at Disney.
Oh, no, that I did not
Yeah,
know.
yeah, Disney Interactive. It
Okay.
was a year of, yeah. That's what got me out to LA.
Okay.
Uh,
Nice.
they hired me to be a writer at Disney Interactive, and it was they were trying to create the animation studio model.
Hmm.
So they invited artists and writers from all over the world.
Yeah.
They put 200 of us in a big room. They forgot to hire anybody who knew how to make a damn video game.
Oh.
So we all sat around like, and I mean, I wrote a bunch of stuff, but nothing ever saw the light of day because nobody knew how to do it.
Yeah.
So they wound up laying off, I think, all but 25 of us.
Oh, shoot.
And I was stuck in LA. And luckily, Bo Smith and Ted Adams came along, and they were working with Todd McFarlane at the time,
Cool.
and they started giving me work. I was doing stuff like I was interviewing Ozzy Osbourne, I was interviewing all the members of Kiss for the magazines that Todd used to
Hmm.
do,
Yeah.
and then I wrote Spawn: The Dark Ages and Spawn and Hellspawn and all that stuff, and then got that little break with 30 Days a Night.
Nice. Oh, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. How did you and Ben Templesmith, meet up?
We met on the Spawn message board.
Oh, okay.
Uh, Yeah, it was when I was doing, working with Todd, and he started posting samples, and they
Hmm.
were just excellent. The first stuff he posted just looked so great.
Yeah.
So we started talking, and when we got that chance, we went for it.
Nice.
And, we just did the 3 issues of 30 Days.
Oh, that's wonderful. Um, so, for anybody who is watching this interview later, those message boards mean something. You can connect on there. They're so nice.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know. I missed those.
Yeah. Now you've got, more robust like social media and stuff, but sometimes there's so many nuggets that kind of slip away with the oversaturation of content.
Yeah, I just remember with message boards, I just have more conversations with
Yeah.
people. It just seemed like, and everything now is so ticker tape. It all just
Right.
goes flying by so fast.
Right.
So, but yeah, I miss the old message boards. Those were
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. That's cool. So yeah, it seems like that list that you listed off as far as some of the pitch projects and stuff, they've all come to fruition. I remember reading um, Heartland Freaks of the Heartland on a plane ride to Seattle, and that was a charming little read. That was pretty fun. The I kept associating it to a lighter side of like a darker episode of X Files. I don't know if you remember the one I'm talking about, but
Oh, home?
yeah, yeah,
The one oh God. Yeah, that was
right.
brutal.
It
The
was
mom under the
so
bed.
brutal. Back then when I first watched it, I couldn't believe they aired it. And
They only aired it.
only once. Okay,
Yeah,
wow.
and then I think it didn't show up again till one of the collections.
Right, right. Um, yeah, my girlfriend and I, we've gone back and I think we've rewatched all 9 seasons. We're in the middle of it right now, during the quarantine stuff. So it's,
Yeah,
that's one of my episodes that I always go to. And then,
my
like,
favorite. It's my favorite episode.
yeah, then like Humbug season 2, just because my friend the Enigma is in the episode, so I always like looking
Uh,
at him before he was all blued up. He's just
yeah,
figured out
yeah. Oh
back when he
wow.
had flesh tones. But
Yeah, but I always thought about Freaks of the Heartland sort of as a combination of Home and Village of the Damned.
oh, okay. So was it like a
With
directly
spontaneous birth.
influenced?
It was one of those things I didn't realize it till later, but it probably was with the town giving spontaneous birth, but I didn't do any of the alien invasion, any of that stuff. It's just actually I never explained them at all.
Yeah.
I just thought it'd be a great idea. Just let people everybody feeds in their own idea. That people
Right.
come up to me over the years and they're just like, oh, it was a curse, right? Oh, it was radiation. It was a bomb. I'm like, sure, whatever, whatever
Whatever
works
floats
for
your
you.
boat. Well,
Yeah.
that's good to kind of keep things, that sense of abstract, because there's also that lingering suspense of what of possibilities. If you define it, um, you know, do you think it becomes like force feeding?
I in that case, yeah, I do.
Okay.
In general, I have a real problem with over explanation in horror movies or in
Hmm.
science fiction. I mean, anything really. I just don't
Yeah.
like things being over explained. So with that, I remember, because I had a version of the script that explained where they came from.
Hmm.
And it was kind of supernatural and all this. And I just wound up like, I don't know. I got more mileage out of not explaining it. Because everybody with horror, especially, people attribute they feed their own ideas into it. They're what scares them.
Yeah.
And, that's more than I could ever come up with. So in that case, I liked leaving it a little ambiguous. Sort of
Hmm.
like in 30 Days a Night, I never explained where the vampires came from.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that's something that I really appreciated. They're not yeah, just keeping things relatively abstract.
Yeah,
My association with that is, in suspense and something like Alien, you never fully show the creature, yeah, until the very end, and even then, it's still so dark and so moody that it's never a full reveal. You know,
yeah,
and you can only do that once. You can't put the genie back in the bottle after that.
exactly. That's I think Alien is probably the best example of that too. They did such, I think,
Yeah.
you know, Ridley Scott was so aware of that fact that he didn't want to reveal the monster too much,
Yeah.
and yet at the same time they had this fantastic design.
Right.
So that is a tough line to walk. The fact that he made those decisions and didn't spill the beans early, I think, it really just shows how great that movie is.
Yeah, and when you talk to like artists and all that design work and stuff, they really miss, it's like, well, why not show all the work and detail in there? It's like, yeah, but does it support the story? There's got to be a reason to unveil everything. If it doesn't support the story, then don't show it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh
I
man.
agree.
And as much as I love Aliens, and for a separate, because it's a separate entity, it's an infestation of all these, creatures, and it becomes a big action flick. Past that, it becomes very difficult, trying to retell or tread new territory. But it's like your monster's you already know how to deal with your monster. So,
Yeah.
now I guess, I don't know, you got to create a new mythos somehow. Um, but yeah, you've got so many. Well, you've also worked with Bernie Wrightson at one point
Yeah.
too. What was that
Yeah,
experience like?
Well, first and foremost, we became friends. We became friends years ago. And for at least the first year, I didn't bring up work at all.
Mm,
I figured, because I was hanging around him, the first thing you see is everybody's clawing at him for work all the time.
right.
So I was just really happy being friends with him. He really wasn't doing many comics at the time. He wound up doing a Treehouse of Horror with Len Wein. That was
Oh,
a Simpsons parody of
yeah.
Swamp Thing. It was
Nice.
wonderful. It was great, but he kind of got the itch again. So he's the one he brought up actually doing the first thing we did called City of Others. And we actually, we had such a big plan for this thing and it just didn't wind up working. But, mostly he was my friend. We did 5 or 6 projects together, but the highlight of everything, I mean, I loved working with him and all that, but the highlight was we had almost every Friday night, we had Friday night Scrabble games.
Mm-hmm.
And we just, four of us would get together and there's beer and there's pizza. And we would
Nice.
just bullshit all night, play Scrabble. And that's how we came up with a lot of the stories. We would just, babble at each other while we're playing and we'd come up with a lot of different stuff then. So, I mean, I can't tell you how important it was and what an honor it was to, be friends with him and be able to work with him. It's just incredible.
Oh, that's fantastic. The with your writing process too, is it different project to project? Like obviously 30 Days of Night was more, coming up, seems like more of coming up with that hook and then just pitch it and get the green light to actually write it, it seems like. But
Yeah.
is it just more conversational, collaborative between, your partners? Or is it, just change
And it
from
really is,
project to project?
it's different with every project. The only thing that has really changed is in the last 5 years, believe it or not, I never used to outline anything.
Mm,
I used to I would scribble all these, like a serial killer all over a piece of paper. And somehow I had managed to remember that was a story. And then I started talking to Mark Miller and he had a couple really good suggestions. And one, I used to do this all the time because I'd have 4 books going at once. I would write a first issue and then another first issue and I would jump around on issues. And he found it was like, man, I do so much better when I just write one thing all the way through.
mm,
Just put everything in, work it out so you don't have to jump around. So I started doing that
yeah.
and getting much better results. And then I never used to really do detailed outlines. And I actually, at Mark's suggestion, started doing it and it's changed everything.
Nice.
I can get all these ideas out. And then when it comes to sitting down and doing the script, half the stress is gone.
Yeah.
Because I used to just fly by the seat of my pants like an idiot,
Mm.
and now I just realized, oh, map it out first, then you don't have to stress out, all the time. So that's been the biggest change in my creative process, that I do lay everything out beforehand.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. I totally understand, that doing everything by the seat of your pants approach, because I think I still do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have so many ideas and you kind of want to grab at them all at the same time. And then, yeah, that can be problematic. But, um, doing it, outline writing the story all the way through, seems like, uh, a little bit more of an anxiety, reliever, so to speak.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You get it all out, get it mapped on paper, then you don't have to stress about it. Because I used to just walk around and just be thinking about a story like
Mhm.
24 hours a day until I finally sat down and wrote it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a good idea. I know a lot of people are against outlines,
Mm.
but I like them.
They're a great tool to have. If you've got that that foresight to map it out. Um, even even in like the filmmaking world, especially I noticed with like doing documentaries, you're constantly editing, filming, outlining, and scripting, and those are constantly changing as you go too. So
Yeah.
so that's pretty interesting, because I find if I'm sitting there writing, um, I walk away from it for a couple of days, sometimes I can't remember what the hell I wrote. So having an outline, and granted it's probably just notes, so it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's where I'm at, that's what happened before, so I don't have to go back and reread the whole freaking script.
Yeah. I don't know how I used to do it, because I used to have like 4 or 5 books going at once,
Mm,
and I just
wow.
juggled them somehow, remembered where everything was, and I think I just burned myself out doing it that
Mm,
way.
yeah.
This is it's more relaxing.
Yeah.
And actually, I think the books are better too. I think it's working a little better.
That's good. When you're writing too, and you've got your collaborative, I can't talk all of a sudden, collaborative partner, your artist that you're working with. Um, do you find that you're writing to the strengths of that artist, or is it this is the story, see what we can fit, or is it kind of a little bit of both?
I usually try to tailor it to the artist. I usually know what artist I'm working with when I sit down to outline something. So, like, I just did 2 books with Scott Hampton,
Nice.
and Scott's got that very painterly style,
Yeah.
very cinematic. So it really changes the way you do things.
Yeah.
Um, uh, each artist is very, very different, but I do try to play to their strengths. I like them to contribute to the story.
Okay. Nice.
I send Scott, the outline, and he comes back with all his notes and ideas, and I try to incorporate as many as I can that work.
Hmm.
Um, and everybody I work with is the same way. I'm like, I've even had artists where I'm like, send me images, and maybe that will trigger something.
Yeah.
Send me stuff you love to paint or draw, and let's see what comes out of that. So yeah, it's really I try to tailor everything pretty specifically.
Nice. The recently you've had success with the October faction, and then having that translated into a Netflix series. Um, what was the inspiration behind that? Because I think you're working with Damian Worm on that series.
Yeah, yeah. I've been working with Damon for years now, and you know, I, it was odd because when I started October Faction, I knew I wanted to do some monster hunting, but
Okay.
I had done Criminal Macabre for
Uh-huh.
for 25 years. I've been writing Criminal Macabre, which is sort of a hard-boiled detective.
Yep.
How does and his outlook on the world and monsters. So I needed to find a new way in, and I thought about I mean, honestly, the first idea was, what if Cal got really old?
Oh, okay.
And okay, but what if he was a teacher? And what if, he hid what he was doing from his children, but his children are actually, have powers because you rescue, and it
Hmm.
it's the most soap opera thing I've ever written, really.
Okay.
But each idea just sort of fed into the other, and then I just wound up really liking these people. So I
Nice.
think we've done like 5 graphic novels, maybe more than that now.
Great.
But I wanted a new way into monster hunting.
Nice.
That wasn't just the hard-boiled detective, which I've done.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And right now, you're also working with, I think, John Carpenter's publishing company as well.
Yeah, Sandy Carpenter has been running Storm King for a few years now, and honestly, the way I've been working is I usually pitch them first because I just love them so much,
Yeah.
and Sandy's just been really into everything I've been writing. So I think I've got
Cool.
5 books over there right now
Oh,
that will
wonderful.
hopefully see the light of day. Yeah, we just did one called Monica Blue. It's a young adult werewolf story for
Nice.
their Storm Kids line, which was really fun to do.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I've got another 4 graphic novels basically sitting right now. There's
Hmm.
some work going on, but everybody's trying to figure out what the next step is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but I love working with Sandy. I love John. You know, I've worked with John before. We wrote a video game together.
Oh, no
Um,
kidding.
yeah, we wrote a Fear 3. I don't know if you know that one.
I don't know that one. I'm not a video game person. I'm usually the guy that's drawing and working and building stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, I've never really gotten into video games.
I did. I did for a long time. So we wrote a video game that was really fun, but we wound up becoming really good friends, from it.
Cool.
And I see him all the time, and I love working for Sandy. She's great. She's got a great attitude.
Nice. Well, and with John, like he's got a substantial music career, not only doing the soundtracks, but now he tours. He still tours around. I think he's
Yeah,
he's an older gentleman in his at least his late 70s. So
yeah. Have you seen the show?
I haven't seen the show, but I was going to ask, do you ever kind of commiserate over the love of music and performance?
Oh yeah, all the time. We check in on each other with music, what he's doing, what I'm doing. Because I'm usually doing some kind of music project.
Oh, excellent.
So we talk about that. Um, Although I'm really, because I'm like an old punk rock guy.
Hmm.
I don't know how to read music. I don't know how to do anything like that. So it's a little intimidating talking to John because he actually knows all that stuff and composes all these soundtracks. But if you ever get a chance to see that show, I can't recommend it enough.
Nice.
Because even I was like, bunch of soundtrack. How what's that going to be like? They
Right.
have it organized like a rock show. So it's like the greatest hits. It's so good.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool. The film Suspiria. You see the band that provided the music for that Goblin. They're still
Yeah.
out touring. Still playing that soundtrack. So I find it absolutely remarkable that there's still such an audience for that. Music lovers and people that love the film.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But
Uh,
yeah, I love John. I love his music too. So definitely worth checking out.
that's cool. And you're going to be doing some Zoom band performances or practices with
I don't
some
know
of the
about
Grey Matter guys.
Well, before all this happened, the last trip I ever took was to DC. We've been slowly recording stuff.
Oh,
We
great.
have like 4 songs down. So basically, what we're trying to do now is finish them, but we're doing it over Zoom.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and it just turns into a big hangout. I've got my bass amp back here, and it's the same setup, but for some reason, if there's no delay, we can
Mhm.
all hear each other. So
Okay.
we're just jamming around, playing new riffs. We're going to see about actually trying to record some new songs this way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man, Yeah, that'd be fun. I think with the current situation too, you really do have to figure out little roundabouts to innovate and to keep that level of creativity going.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing lots of these calls with different people I work with
Hmm.
and just hanging out. They're really just hangouts. We have drinks,
Right.
we hang out, we talk. A couple hours goes by,
Yeah.
and you just realize like we're already used to this now.
Yeah.
It's not like this is the way we get to hang out for the foreseeable future, at least.
Right.
So yeah, I love the way people are just adapting to it. I think people are starting to do sort of virtual comic cons.
Right.
A lot of things like that, chats, and whatnot. So, I guess the big thing is going to be figuring out how we sell comics again, because that's the thing that completely froze.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be something where we start implementing more digital, or how would you see the comic book shops and the distribution of floppies and on print
Yeah.
graphic novels go?
Well, I think a couple things are going to happen. One, I can't see going digital because it would just be cutting the retailers' throats, and
Yeah.
nobody wants to do that. We want them to survive.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big part of we're just waiting this out.
Mhm.
One of the things I think might come of this, I've heard a lot of people talking, is that the floppy might die, just the
Okay.
individual issue comic book
Yeah.
might die, and we might go to more like a European model, which is going straight to graphic novel,
Right.
which I actually don't have a problem with. Two of the four projects I have coming from Storm King are original graphic novels.
Mm.
The autobiography is going to be a graphic novel.
Mm. Nice.
Um, so, I don't mind it. I kind
Yeah.
of like the idea of a whole thing you get to sit down with as opposed to
Right.
piecemeal, because
Chapters. Yeah.
I don't get to go to comic stores as often as I did when I was younger. I just don't.
Yeah.
So,
Neither do I. Yeah, I do tend to like the whole collected story in one single book as opposed to the individual chapters and stuff. So hopefully that ends up being the model. I don't mind the individual floppies, but yeah, that's a pretty big resource.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, we'll see, it's really going to depend on, when can the retailers open again
mhm.
and when can the distributors open again? Because
Yeah.
right now there's no distribution, so it doesn't matter. I know DC was talking about something,
Right.
but I haven't heard very much about it, so I'm not sure what's happening there.
Yeah, I thought it was, they were working with like two or three different regional distributors and working
Yeah.
with them. I know some of our local shops, uh, they've taken the time to reach out to like the local creatives and put together bundle packages and stuff. We've got Mutiny Information Cafe, which when we have you out here, we'll have to take you down there because it's a punk rock bookstore and it's a
Oh, nice.
community center, and they have a great comic book selection, vinyl selection, and it's a cafe too. So they bundle up their graphic novels and comic books from local creators and writers, and with coffee and beans and stuff and coffee
Nice.
mugs, and they've been able to weather it. We've got like Time Warp in Boulder. They've been able to do like live auctions on social media, and so we've been
Nice.
reaching out and buying a bunch of gift cards. That seems to be a big thing. Is anybody that can offer gift cards, buy that for when you reopen.
Yeah. I've been buying lots of back issues from retailers.
Oh, great.
I still have my, got my comics. I still collect all
Yes.
my nerdy ass comics.
Yep.
So, I've been trying to catch up on back issues now because I figure that's one way to help.
Right.
We also, luckily, I'm not sure who the organizers were, but they on Twitter there were some auctions going on, and I think we raised a lot of money for retailers.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
That's cool. That also talking about DC. Didn't at one point you were doing a line of horror related titles there over there?
At DC?
Yeah.
Well, I did some Batman books for them, and then Scott Hampton and I created a book called Simon Dark.
That's right.
Yeah, that ran 18 issues. Actually, it hasn't been announced yet, but another publisher is going to be collecting all those. We got the rights back. DC was really cool about it. We got the rights back. So we're going to be releasing all 18 issues soon.
Nice. One character I'd love to see you write someday is, of course, Swamp Thing.
Oh, I'd love it. At the same time, I'd be so nervous. I mean, you're competing with, Bernie Wrightson, Len Wein, Alan Moore.
True.
I mean, holy hell. I wouldn't even know. I'm not sure I'd know where to begin. But I would love that.
Yeah, I guess it would be, taking like a character like that or any character that has been in the zeitgeist for so long, kind of thinking it's like, what do I have to say with this character? That sort of thing.
I always wanted, I did a cartoon of the Spectre. I wrote one cartoon for
cool.
Way back, and I totally did it you got to check it out because I just made like a little mini horror movie. But the Spectre is that's a character I feel like I would be very comfortable with.
Okay.
I always want to mess with him, but I did a cartoon. If you can track it down.
Is it one of the shorts that they would release in front of the? I think I might have it. I can't remember. Wasn't it some kind of murder mystery?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
They threw it on a couple different DVDs.
Nice. I'll have to rewatch it then. That's pretty cool. Spectre's always been one of those things. I think I think of that too. When I think of Spectre, I grew up with the mid '90s Kingdom Come, and the Spectre kind of being that is like that Bob Marley, Christmas ghost type thing, going along with, the Reverend and kind of witnessing, the apocalypse unfolding. I was like, what a terrible Christmas story. Great story, but that was kind of my introduction to the Spectre. But being that the right hand of God, so to speak, but what a vengeful God too.
I like it. Kind of keep it street level, he's a reporter, also is a vengeful spirit. I think right there you got to have to really tell some great noir horror stories.
That sense of grounding it, definitely has that feeling of a ghost story, but also kind of DC's iteration of Ghost Rider. Granted, Spectre has been around way before Ghost Rider.
Yeah, way longer, but
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea. But
man, that's pretty cool. So, since you've been in quarantine, you and your family have been kind of out, on your property, enjoying the outdoors and stuff too. Have you had time to partake in any new media or content, any films or TV shows that you've really gravitated toward?
It's funny. I thought I was going to be watching a lot more stuff. I haven't really. Probably the last thing I watched that I really liked was, and of course it went out of my brain as soon as but the last Stephen King thing on HBO.
Oh, okay. The Outsider.
Outsider thing. I'm like The Stranger. I'm like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, The Outsider. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I really liked that too. I liked the fact that they kept the supernatural aspects very abstract.
Yeah.
And they kept having all the characters. I mean, the whole series is a conversation piece, but the characters themselves is how do you actually apply the laws of man to something that does not exist by the natural laws?
Yeah. I thought he did a good job. I mean, because it's a really outlandish concept.
Yeah.
A doppelganger. Very
Very much
strange.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I thought they played it really well, and I liked the ending. I just thought it was a lot of fun. Um, God, I haven't, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff like we watched Schitt's Creek,
that's a
I
great series.
enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Ozark, absolutely fantastic and just wonderfully brutal.
yeah.
Um, but not as much stuff. I thought I'd be watching a lot more, and I haven't been. I
Yeah.
started watching Westworld. I don't have a clue what's going on.
Which one?
Uh, Westworld?
Oh, yeah. That one's yeah. Unfortunately,
Love
I
the
mean, it's a
first.
slow burn, but it takes a couple of viewings to really kind of grasp what is happening. Uh,
Yeah. Love the first season. Thought the first
yeah.
season was just yeah, having a little trouble with that. And not much. I mean, in like horror movies, the last great one I saw, at least that I thought, was Hereditary. You know,
Oh, yeah. That's a story I always tell people or I talk to people about is that is a film where I watched it and I thought it was just absolute garbage. And it's like this doesn't happen. This is not how people interact. This is not how it works. And then I had a nightmare after I watched it. I'm like, fuck, this really got to me. So I rewatched it. And it's like, oh, the rules don't apply. This makes its own
yeah,
rules. I was like,
yeah,
oh, okay, yeah,
yeah,
no,
yeah. You
I,
just have to go with it because
yeah,
it's not relying on any kind of, mythos that we know about or it created its own.
right.
So, I thought it was great. I just thought it was
I,
great. I saw it in the theater
yeah,
and it made people shut up, which I really like.
yeah. My girlfriend went and saw it in the theater, and she came back and she's like, I really should have went and saw that with you. I don't know what I was thinking. She's like, I'm gonna have nightmares. And then when it finally came out to on streaming, we sat down and watched it together. And I'm like, I don't understand what the problem was. This doesn't make any sense. And then I had that just I couldn't sleep that night. And I was like, oh, this must be really good if it's bothering me that much. So I
Sticks with it.
rewatched it and I was like, holy crap, this is really good. As this is so fun and weird and bizarre. And then we did go and see Midsommar, the
Yeah,
the follow up, same director. And yeah,
yeah,
man, that was brutal, but it had some really similar themes, but just two different, drastic different approaches to storytelling.
yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
the one I had to see that one twice before I liked it.
Okay,
Uh, yeah, first time I saw it, I was just like, it's like the riffing on Wicker Man, whatever, blah, blah.
right, right.
It didn't really stick with me. And then I watched it again, and I was like, okay, there's some good stuff happening here.
Yeah.
Um, Also, The Witch, I thought was really great.
Yeah, yeah, I think is that the director's name, I think is Eggers. Yeah, The Witch
Yeah,
was
he
great.
did Lighthouse too.
Yeah, we just saw The Lighthouse. And what a delightful, film about descending into madness.
And I don't know if you can believe it. We watched Joker and then that in one night.
Oh, good
So
God. Did you sleep
it
at
was like
all?
Descent into Madness festival. We were just like, oh my god, I need to watch cartoons or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
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 we watched we saw Joker in the theaters, and Elise and I were just having that conversation. There's a lot of those references to Scorsese and his
oh
work,
yeah,
and but at the same time it's just like, yeah, but the fact that we're still talking about it does something to you. It definitely
yeah,
evokes a lot of emotion. Yeah, that conversation of mental health and how
yeah,
society really just doesn't have the infrastructure to sustain. And then you watch something, yeah, like Lighthouse, and it's just like there's no societal infrastructure at all there. I
yeah,
I'm surprised
absolutely,
those two guys lasted as long as they did through that
absolutely,
film.
yeah, yeah.
But
But good stuff.
but I thought the cinematography and the visuals in Lighthouse, and especially the ratio, I was like, man, it's absolutely gorgeous to look at, and so just that alone, kind of captivated me because it's a bit of a slow burn, but the black and white, just man, I didn't even need coffee. And usually those type of films, I've got a big pot of coffee waiting for me, just to get through that. The storytelling is just so sophisticated. I think horror films, and I would classify Lighthouse definitely a horror film, but it's also just an amazing drama, and there's that sense of suspense, that the two Lighthouse attendees, their psyches just kind of manifest as they descend into that madness. And great character studies too. So
the acting was great. I had never seen Robert Pattinson act before because I never watched Twilight. So I was pretty impressed. He's a good actor.
He really is, and he's since his Twilight days, he's really focused on more indie and character driven pieces. There's a couple years ago he did a movie called Good Times, and you don't really realize that's the same guy from Twilight. It's just you don't even know it's Robert Pattinson. He's so good at hiding in his characters, and now he's got that movie with Christopher Nolan coming out. Hopefully it comes out, called Tenet, and then the new Batman movie. So there's all these amazing character performances, but with the music too. Were you guys planning on doing any touring or talking about that?
No, everybody kind of has their thing going. Dante, owns a nightclub in DC. Mark, is works at a co-op that he's part owner with. Jeff's like a union organizer now. And we're scattered all over the states.
Yeah.
So we just treat it, it's just for fun. We might release something, we might not, but for right now, it's kind of like a vacation when we get to hang out.
That's great. I think it's so nice when you can do, creative projects, and it's just more feels leisurely,
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Steve, we've got to, start winding down, but,
okay.
What kind of, can we ask what other projects you've got in the pipeline?
Well, I can't go into too much detail about a lot of them, but the Swan Street, the autobiography, is a big one.
Yeah, that I'm looking forward to.
So I'm looking nervous and looking forward to that one. I've got a few titles at Storm King. One including called Graveyard Moon, which is about sort of a science fiction story about the future of the funeral industry.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So it's like a space adventure at the same time. So it's sort of like I always hesitate to say grave robbers in space.
That sounds so cool.
Land knife from outer space. I don't want people to think that. I've got a Western horror I'm doing with Jay Russell and Scott Hampton called Black Sparrow that we're almost finished. What else? I've got a couple titles at Clover. Clover is Ted Adams and Robbie Robbins' new label. And I've got a thing called The Grieveling coming out from there, which is a vengeful spirit story. So I'm excited about that. And another one called The Possessed, which is a World War II horror comic.
Oh, cool.
So, tons of stuff.
Man, you are a busy guy.
Well, we'll see. We gotta see how we're gonna get this stuff out. But it's all there. So
nice.
the last year or two has been really busy.
Good. Good. And where can people find more of your work?
Well, comic stores, I mean,
Yeah.
I urge people to contact their comic retailers. They might not be able to get new comics right now, but there's
Right.
millions of back issues. And for a creator like me, actually, that's a really important thing. I
Right.
have a huge back catalog that I would love people to check out, and comic retailers, have this stuff, and a lot of them are doing mail order and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
check it out.
Everybody that's watching this, definitely go out and support your local retailers.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I'm always on Facebook and Twitter promoting my stuff. People are always, always welcome to hit me up. And, I'm always willing to talk about stuff. But hopefully when we start emerging from this thing, we'll be able to start announcing when books are coming out.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, Steve, thanks again for being so giving of your time and chatting with me. I think you're doing some stellar stuff. You know, going to delve more into the Gray Matters catalog of music, and looking forward to the the new book that you've got going out coming out. Was it Swan Street?
Swan Street. Swan Street.
Nice. And then I'm gonna have to go check out him. Gonna need to do that.
Oh, good. Yeah, absolutely. You should. It's a classic. You'll love it.
Oh, great. And of course, we can't wait to have you out in September. Hopefully all this stuff will subside, and we'll have a wonderful window to have you out, and treat you to Denver and all the fun musings that we have around here.
Looking forward to it. It's the only con I have left that hasn't been canceled. So
Oh, wonderful.
yeah.
So, we'll see you in September then. And with that, I'm Daniel Crozier with COFOH Live and Undead. And thanks again for tuning in.
Thank you so much for having me.